When I hear people talk about their partners or their exes with the avoidant attachment style, I so often hear words like cold, distant, and indifferent. But there's one word that describes avoidance above all else, and that word is afraid. You see, avoidants are very good at acting like they don't care, like they've totally moved on and practically forgotten who you are. But the truth is that they actually do care a lot. And it's the fact that they care that's pushing them to go quiet, ice you out, and pretend that you don't exist. Because the fact that they care about you and about the relationship is a huge source of fear for an avoidant. And that fear is what's driving a wedge between the two of you and keeping you apart. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about why your ex feels this way, what they're really afraid of, and how you can work around their fear to win them back and create a happier life together where neither of you has to be afraid. I'm Brad Browning, aka Breakup Brad, author of the X Factor 2.0 and a breakup coach to tens of thousands of people around the world. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I make it my business to help people get over their breakup or get back together with their ex. And in pursuit of this, I've learned all there is to know about attachment styles and how they can come into play during the breakup process. Now, I talk a lot about avoidant exes because they're the ones who can be the most tricky to win back. They tend to go silent after a breakup and limit contact to practically nothing. It can be really difficult to even have a conversation with them, much less figure out what they're thinking. But the truth is that I've cracked the code on avoidant exes and found that their biggest weakness is fear. They're terrified of intimacy, commitment, vulnerability, and above all, of their own emotions. And as someone who's trying to get closer to them and share a life together, you're a living embodiment of all these fears. And this is why your avoidant ex is afraid of you. And before anyone comments, you're talking about fearful avoidant exes. Of course they're afraid, but what about dismissive avoidance? Well, the truth is that dismissive avoidants are just as afraid as fearful avoidance. They just tend to show it in a different way. Their dismissal, their refusal to hear your side of things, to think about your feelings or engage in real dialogue, it comes from a place of fear. It feels like they don't care about you and they just don't believe that emotions matter. But really, they're being dismissive as a strategy. They don't want to talk about this stuff because it's confusing, it's overwhelming, and it's scary. So they downplay it and they push it aside so that they can maintain their safety. And most avoidants on some level know that this is going to upset you and maybe even lead to a fight. But it's a fight that they're comfortable having because they've had it so many times before. They'd really much rather have you yell at them or storm off and give them the silent treatment than they would actually open up and have a real conversation. But what about after the breakup? Well, the thing about avoidance is that, and I hate to say this because it sometimes sounds cruel, but to a certain extent, they're emotionally stunted. Whatever happened or didn't happen in their childhood made it difficult for them to process difficult emotions. So instead, they learn to push them down, push them away, or just avoid them altogether. And of course, we know that emotions can't be dealt with in this way. The more you deny them, the more of a problem they become and the more significant they feel. And this creates a common pattern. Your partner has some issue with you or with the relationship. Maybe they feel like they're not being given enough freedom. Maybe you did something to hurt them or you haven't been meeting their needs. Now, they know what they have to do is talk to you about it. They have to let you know that there is a problem, to clear the air, and to work with you to find a solution. But that would require a few things that they're typically not willing to do. It would mean admitting that they actually have emotions and needs. It would mean opening up and being vulnerable. And it would mean risking conflict. And to an avoidant, these things feel way more immediately threatening than whatever issue they're having with you. So instead they say, it's not worth having a conversation about this. They invalidate their own feelings. Now, if you do this once or twice, it's probably not a big deal. But if you repeat this every time you have a problem in the relationship, and these little issues fester, and they become a huge problem. And then your partner feels that the only way to get relief from the crushing weight of all that's bothering them is to end the relationship and just get away from you. Because part of the avoidance issues is really, it's one of perception. So when we lay it all out logically, we see that the issues that they're having are complex. They're based in real problems in the relationship, but they're also affected by their own insecurities, their problems with communication, and their tendency to avoid. And that's something that the avoidant is never really going to internalize because that would require them to think about all the things that they don't want to think about. So instead, they simplify. They make you the problem, and they push you away to fix the situation. Because while your ex still cares about you, you've come to represent all the issues that they're facing. Getting close to you has created all this fear, so getting away from you is going to make them feel better. Issues in the relationship feel overwhelming, and if they get away from you, they're going to disappear. Notice how avoidance is always the answer to their problems. So now, after the breakup, when you approach them, even just to talk, it feels like you're bringing with you all this negative stuff that they were trying to leave behind. So in effect, they've become afraid of you. But please don't worry, because this isn't a permanent state of affairs. You can actually change how your ex feels about you and attract them back if you follow my advice. So we've established that approaching them doesn't work. It just makes them recede from you even further. So then how can you actually overcome this avoidance? Well, first off, understanding your ex's current emotional state really is half the battle. And that's largely why I make these videos. And even by watching this far, you've started to gain empathy for your ex, and so you're closer to getting them back than you were before, even if it feels like nothing has changed. And if you want more of my help, I'm actually available for one-on-one coaching right now for the first time in a while. So head over to breakupbrad.com/coaching to work with me directly. I can give you a better understanding of your situation, and together we can work out a plan for what to do next. I really do hope to hear from you soon, so please go to breakupbrad.com/coaching right now before my slots fill up. All right, now let's move on and talk about what is your next move. Well, to start, what you need to do is nothing. Yes, in order to break this cycle of chasing and pulling away, what you need to do is stop chasing. And many of you watching are probably going to find this ridiculous. I mean, you may say that you barely did anything. Maybe it was just a few texts here and there, a couple of phone calls. But remember, your ex is in fight or flight mode right now. They're extra sensitive to being pressured in really any way. So all it takes is a couple of texts, or maybe even one text, for them to feel like you're trying to worm your way back in. Because let's face it, most people who text their exes are looking for something, right? They either want sex, they want to get back together, or they want all those books that you stole when you moved out. But seriously, you need to stop the pattern of reaching out to your ex and then hanging all your hopes on that text back, because you're only making things worse. Instead, what you need to do is give your ex as much space as physically possible right now. So, move out, give them back their hoodie, go no contact today for at least a month or so. Now, this might feel impossible, but that's actually a really good sign, because however hard it feels for you, it feels even harder for your ex, because they didn't choose this. It's happening to them out of nowhere, and it's going to create a massive sense of loss. See, avoidants are used to being chased after like this. Their hot and cold behavior really invites this in really anyone that they date. But when you withdraw completely, they're not going to know what to do. Instead of feeling pressure from you, they'll feel nothing. And that's going to feel like a major rejection for an avoidant ex. And remember how I said that avoidants fear intimacy? Well, something that many people don't know is that they fear rejection almost as much. And this is because avoidants feel somehow they're defective. On some level, they recognize that their behavior does push people away. And so when you leave, it'll feel like a confirmation of their worst fears. They'll feel like they screwed things up all over again. They'll feel unlovable. And on top of this, without you around to blame for how they feel, they'll have to face their role in the breakup and realize that it's not really what they want after all. And that's when they're going to break the silence and come back to you. So stay the course, keep quiet, and let them sit with all the negative feelings that they've been trying to run from. Pretty soon, they're going to realize that you weren't the problem, they were. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, guys. I am so appreciative of all my viewers, subscribers, and especially my commenters. So leave me a message down there so I know you're watching. Best of luck with your avoidant ex, and I'll see you again next time right here. Bye for now.